The Indian Administrative Service is the premier administrative civil service of the Government of India.IAS. Officers hold key and strategic positions in the Union government, states and public sector undertakings, like in various countries following parliamentary system. IAS as the permanent bureaucracy in India forms an inseparable part of the executive branch of the Government of India, thus providing continuity and neutrality to the administration. Unlike candidates selected to other civil services, a person once appointed to Indian Administrative Service or Indian Foreign Service becomes ineligible to reappear in civil services examination, conducted by Union Public Service Commission, because there are no higher civil services other than aforementioned two services under Government of India, along with the Police Service and Forest Service. The IAS is one of the three All India services. Its cadre can be employed by both the Union government and the individual states. Upon confirming to service after probation as subdivisional magistrate, an IAS officer is given administrative command of entire district as district collector. On attaining the upper levels of supertime scale to apex scale, they can go on to head whole departments and subsequently entire ministries of Government of India and states. IAS officers represent Government of India at the international level in bilateral and multilateral negotiations. On deputations they work at intergovernmental organizations like World Bank and United Nations or its agencies. IAS officers at various levels of administration play vital roles in conducting free, fair and smooth elections in India under the direction of Election Commission of India and states. History. The erstwhile Imperial Civil Service was the higher civil service of the British Empire in British India during British rule in the period between 1858 and 1947. Civil servants were divided into two categories, covenanted and uncovenanted. The covenanted civil service consisted of only white British civil servants occupying the higher posts in the government. The uncovenanted civil service was solely introduced to facilitate the entry of Indians at the lower rung of the administration. With the passing of the Government of India Act 1919, the imperial services, headed by the Secretary of State for India, were split into two, All India Services and Central Services. At the time of the partition of India and the departure of the British in 1947, the Imperial Civil Service was divided between the new dominions of India and Pakistan. The part which went to India was named the Indian Administrative Service, while the part that went to Pakistan was named the Civil Service of Pakistan. Recruitment. Recruitment to the Indian Administrative Service is done through an extremely competitive examination called the Civil Services Examination, organized by the Union Public Service Commission. In 2015, over 1 million candidates applied for this exam, from which only 180 were recruited into the Indian Administrative Service, indicating the extreme competition. The number of vacancies vary every year. Every year Department of Personnel and Training, Government of India, elucidates the number of vacancies after encompassing the vacancies from each state. Allocation and placement. After being selected in the UPSC exam, candidates undergo training at LBS-NAA, Mussoorie for IAS. There is one cadre in each Indian state, except for three joint cadres: Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Tripura, and Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram Union Territories. The insider-outsider ratio is maintained as 1 to 2. as insiders. The rest are posted outsiders according to the roster in states other than the home states. Till 2008 there was no choice for any state cadre, and the candidates, if not placed in the insider vacancy of the home states, were allotted to different states in alphabetic order of the roster, beginning with the letters A, H, M, T for the particular year. For example, if in a particular year the roster begins from A, which means the first candidate in the roster will go to the Andhra Pradesh state cadre of IAS, the next one to Bihar, and subsequently to Chhattisgarh, Gujarat and so on in alphabetical order. The next year the roster starts from H for either Haryana or Himachal Pradesh. This highly intricate system has on one hand ensured that officers from different states are placed all over India. It has also resulted in wide disparities in the kind of professional exposure for officers. When we compare offices in small and big and also developed and backward states, since the system ensures that the officers are permanently placed to one state cadre, the only way the allotted state cadre can be changed is by marriage to an officer of another state cadre of IAS/IPS. One can even go to his home state cadre on deputation for a limited period, after which one has to invariably return to the cadre allotted to him or her. The centralizing effect of these measures was considered extremely important by the system's framers, but has received increasing criticism over the years. In his keynote address at the 50th anniversary of the service in Mussoorie, a former cabinet secretary Nirmal Mukherjee argued that separate central, state and local bureaucracies should eventually replace the IAS as an aid to efficiency. There are also concerns that without such reform, the IAS will be unable to move from a command and control strategy to a more interactive, interdependent system. Functions of the civil servant officer. A civil servant is responsible for the law and order and general administration in the area under his work. Typically the functions of an IAS officer are as follows: to handle the daily affairs of the government, including framing and implementation of policy in consultation with the minister in charge of the concerned ministry, which requires supervision and proper enforcement at ground realities. In the process of policy formulation and decision-making, officers at higher level contribute to the final shape of the policy and/or take a final decision with the concurrence of the minister concerned or the cabinet. To implement government policies at grassroots level when posted at fieldwork, i.e. as SDM, ADM, DM and divisional commissioner, and act as intermediate between public and government by good execution and deliverance skills. Designations. Most IAS officers start their careers in the state administration at the subdivisional level as a subdivisional magistrate. They are entrusted with the law and order situation of the city along with general administration and development work of the areas under their charge. Since early 20th century, Indian civil servants are colloquially called Babis, while Indian bureaucracy is called Babudam, as in the rule of Babis, especially in the Indian media. Salary structure.